simplistic kind of principle in contrastive analysis. Error analysis, however, is different. We look at real data. We look at how students write, how students speak, and we check whether it's true that they have this problem. Out of 1,000 students, 90% have this problem. It must be true. Okay? The law of consensus in research. When we do research, it's always majority and consensus and pattern. It happens very frequently. We therefore say that it's true and very significant. Okay? Now today we move into morphology and syntax. Now morphology and syntax, the principles of contrastive analysis that are applicable here are the same as for the sound system. What is morphology? Morphology? What is that, morphology? You cannot forget all the levels of the language system. Because in this course, I'm not going to teach you what is morphology, what is syntax. I am going to move immediately to contrasting, looking at differences. So it must be in place, your knowledge of morphology and syntax. It must be already in place. In place, you must know it. I cannot tell you. Morphology, the study of word formation, syntax. Yeah, at the sentence level. Syntax is at the sentence level. Beyond the sentence level, what do we have? Beyond is bigger. What do we have? We have a string of sentences. What do you call it? What is that? A string of sentences. Beyond that, we have morphology, word formation, and then the arrangement of words in sentences, in sentence. Then if we have lots of sentences, what do you call it? They string together for a reason. What do you call it? Discourse lah. Tak tahu? Then what is discourse to you? Technically, it's a string of sentences. Discourse. When you move beyond a sentence, it's discourse. Pragmatics come in when there are speakers, there are writers, there's meaning. A lot of research has been done in speech. That's pragmatics. Okay, discourse is more on technically it's beyond. We are analyzing beyond a sentence. It's discourse. Discourse analysis. But today we are looking at morphology and syntax. Now, syntactical transfer. If you read a lot of books, when you talk about morphology, they also talk about syntax. The reason being they are closely related. A sentence cannot exist without words. A lexical item, a lexis, you need that. Minimum one word you must have for a sentence. Okay, ouch is a sentence, it's exclamation, but it is also a single word. Now, syntactical transfer, we will look at transfer in word order. In Malay, how is the word order? Perempuan cantik. We always use the adjective cantik. Something else. Perempuan bijak. In English, we don't say women intelligent, woman intelligent. We say intelligent woman, right? Intelligent woman. So word order is different. That is why you see some speakers of Malay speakers of English, Malay speakers of English, yes, have a lot of problems with the word order. Simply because of this, the arrangement of adjectives and what is described and what describes, adjective and noun, for example. Even when I speak in Malay, I tend to reverse the word order. Perut sakit or sakit perut?
It depends.
Sakit perut, but I'll always say perut sakit. Yeah, and the clerk will always correct me. Why? Because I'm influenced by the English language, very much so. In Chinese, I tak tahu. How do you say stomach ache? Oh, It's the same sequence. But I have problems. Now, if I have problems, I speak in Chinese. That means I'm a better speaker of English than Chinese. Now, if Chinese is more dominant in me, I wouldn't have problem, stomach ache. Oh, it's stomach ache, huh? It's not ache stomach. Yeah, it could be due to Chinese or it could be due to English. Okay, the arrangement of words. So we'll be looking at that. And relative clauses, I picked up relative clauses because there's vast differences between relative clauses, the use of relative clauses in English, and a lot of other languages which have done in morphology and syntax, the arrangement of relative clauses. And negation, how do you say no in Malay? Tidak, bukan. Very, very limited range, but in English it's very complex. And we are going to learn how to do a contrastive analysis, and of course, being future teachers, we will look at classroom application of contrastive analysis. Now, properties of word order, two terms, two definitions you should be familiar with is rigidity. What is rigid and flexible? You say someone is rigid. She's flexible with time. This lecturer is flexible in her teaching ways. Unlike the other one who is very rigid. You have to start at 8, you have to end at 9, you have to follow the syllabus strictly. That's rigid. Rigid, that means you can't change. Okay? It also applies to personality. Likewise in language as well. Flexible, yes. Sometimes you can. If it's hazy, then the lecture can start at 8:10. If it's not hazy, it must start at 8. So you are flexible. In life, you have to be flexible. Okay? Don't be rigid. This is not a communist country. You must be rigid. You must be flexible. Okay? Now, word order rigidity, fixed word patterns. English is SVO or SOV? S is subject, object, verb. Subject, object. Subject, verb, object, subject, object, verb. We are talking about declaratives, that is statements. How is arrangement? Simple example. In reality, it doesn't happen this way. Okay? So I'm asking, that's a question. I'm asking you. It's not rhetorical. Rhetorical, that means I ask and I answer. I'm asking you in English, how is the word pattern? Is it subject, verb, object, or subject, object, verb?
SVO, subject, verb.
Okay, good. That you are clear. In a declarative sentence. I'm not talking about questions. Okay? Now that is rigid. Alright? Now if in Malay, for statements, you have the same arrangement, then we would predict that students will not have problems with the arrangement of subject, verb, object. They would know that subject usually appears first, followed by verb, and then the object. Okay? Now, if there are different variations, then students will have problems speaking English in relation to word order. Now, if we are talking about flexibility, relatively free word order patterns, apparently in Russian, you are flexible. You can use so many word order. You can use SVO, SOV, VSO, VOS, OSV, OVS. So what is the implication for a Russian speaker of English? What is the implication if they are trying to learn the English language? Like in Malay, you are free to speak anyhow. You can put it anyway. So you are learning English. What is the implication? When English is so rigid, you must have SVO only for statements. Apa implikasi? What's the implication? What's your prediction? You must be what is the word in Malay? The person who forecasts the weather, like he always go wrong. What's his name? Pak Nujum. So you have to be a person who can predict weather forecast. We can tell you tomorrow is going to rain. How do we tell you? We look at what we have today. What we have today is the language system. So in Malay, do you think Malay, Bahasa Melayu, is it a rigid language? In relation to word order, susunan perkataan, is it rigid? Yes, it's rigid. I take your word for it. It's usually SBO, right? Betul. Saya makan durian. I eat durian. So if let's say Bahasa Melayu is very flexible. You can say saya makan durian, durian makan saya. Same meaning, makan saya durian, and it's completely correct. So what is the implication? You learn English.
The sentences won't have any meaning.
Yeah. Okay. The sentences won't. You are trying to interpret the durian example. Yes. In a sense, you are right. But what I'm trying to get from you is the fact that the Russian speakers of English will make a mess of the word order, because in their mother tongue you can speak it anyhow. But once in a while they'll get it right when they use SBO. Once in a while they'll say, I like to eat, correct. Other times when they forget, they'll say, to eat like me, or something, like I. So your prediction will be, a Russian speaker of English will have problems with the word order, because the first language has a flexible word order, there's no match. Now, BM and English, there's a closer match, so our prediction is you don't have to spend so many hours teaching word order, because they know subject comes first, then verb and object. But if you look at Bahasa Melayu, usually you speak with the object first. I noticed. Buku itu saya punya when you speak. So that it's transferable. Transferable meaning when you speak English, you will transfer the rules from Bahasa Melayu into English. That is why you see a lot of structures in Facebook. I also access Facebook. You can't find me on Facebook, but I am in Facebook because of research. My postgraduate, my PhD student is doing research on Facebook. When they speak, sometimes you write according to how you speak. For Malay speakers of English, you tend to put the object right in front. Rumah itu saya duduk selama 30 tahun. They don't start with saya duduk di rumah tu. Of course that's formal. It's possible. So what I can see is there is still some variation in the word order. So it's transferable. No? When you speak English, you tend to say the example, I mean, put the object in front. This book is mine, is correct? Particularly in relation to dates, later we look at dates. It's very interesting, how Malay speakers of English talk about dates in English. Yeah? They say tonight, Friday. It's Friday tonight. But you always say, we are going to have a test tonight, Friday. All of you write it that way, or speak that way. And then you tend to have the month first, followed by the date and the time terbalik. I noticed the time system is very interesting. That is based on my own observation. Maybe you find it in books. I don't know. But even when you speak, you tend to say the day first, followed by the time. You're supposed to say time first and then date. Yeah, it could be Bahasa Melayu. You look at your first language speakers of the end. So look at your language. Okay. Now rigidity is transferable according to Odling, more or less rigid, flexible statements. Now you can argue, we cannot say that definitely that it's 100% rigid, definitely it's 100% flexible. We can talk about the degree of flexibility. Okay? Now what I can predict is if your mother tongue, your first language is very flexible, such as for the Russians, you will have problem learning the English language. Okay? If it's both rigid and they are the same, then it's easy to learn the English language. If both are rigid and the speaker of the first language has only one rigid word order, then completely they will have a lot of problems in the learning of the word order in the English language. The simple logical deduction. You just predict, it doesn't have to be true. This prediction, contrastive analysis is based on prediction looking at facts. Okay? Now, what do we do now? Next. Still on transfer, example, I don't speak Spanish, but I can, okay, here are the examples, it's missing from the slide. Negative transfer. Get used to the terms, transfer, what's the other word for transfer? Language interference. Get used to the term. Okay, because we tested for technical terms in contrastive analysis and error analysis. So we always talk about transfer. We use the terms rigid, flexibility, interference, mother tongue, first language, second language. The usual terms that exist in this course. Now Spanish and Finnish. Flexible use several word order in English, more errors. So another example. Now apparently in Spanish, when you're a Spanish speaker of English or Finnish speaker of English, you will have a lot of problems in word order. Why? Because in their language, the word order is very flexible. You can ask a Spanish teacher, I don't know. Who's a Spanish teacher now? You don't take Spanish.
No.
It's such an exotic language. How come you didn't take?
It affected
we
our
used to have to
GPA.
take Sulaiman. He passed away, you know. He's always around the beside you would have seen him. No, he teach French, sorry. He teach French. So Spanish. Oh, okay, Ladis. Ladis teach Spanish. We have 2 Spanish teachers. Now, if it's not good, there's more errors, we say what has taken place? Negative transfer. If something good has happened, we say it's a positive transfer. Okay? Swedish. Apparently Swedish is a rigid word order language, and when it's rigid, it's also SVO. Therefore, it's easy for them to learn the English language. Swiss speakers from Switzerland speaks perfect English, although English is not their first language. Okay? The other one is transfer of topic, comment, sequence, subject, or predicate. We will not go into that because we don't have time for that. Like, maybe in tutorial if we have time. Now, relative clause, we are done with rigidity and flexibility. Now we go into that relative clause. Branching directions. Do you describe first or do you state first? State first. You're talking about Malay or English?
English.
Huh? Both. Now English is a right branching direction. Right, on your right. Okay, right branching direction. Japanese, on the other hand, is a left branching direction. So we will predict that Japanese speakers of English will have a lot of problems when it comes to relative clauses. Okay? Relative clause, right of head noun. The cheese, that's a head noun, that the red ate was rotten. Left branching, relative clause, left of head noun. You read that. Who speaks Japanese here? A lot of Malays here speak Japanese, I noticed. Japanese, Korean, Hindi. Why? Because influence of media. Yeah. The media plays a big part in 90% of your life. So you must study the media, how it has affected your outlook, how you perceive the society. By reading the media, how people are represented, how events are represented, and the information is shoved into you. You must be intelligent enough to know that you are being manipulated by the media. You must be very careful as future graduates. You are going to be our future leaders. People like us will not be around to guide you for long. So you have to take over. Be careful of the media. Now back to this. I'm not going to read that. Nesumi ga tapita chiswa kusate ita. Okay. Now apparently, because Japanese has a left branching kind of way of stating relative clauses, they will have problems in English. So when if you ask them to state this meaning, the cheese that the rat ate was rotten, they would produce this kind of structure: rat ate cheese rotten was. They speak in a very funny way. Of course, the other habits of Japanese speaker of English is they like to add the O at the end, right? Is it O? The sound. Okay. Now this example just serves to illustrate to you, if in Malay you feel the branching system is left branching, and we know English is right branching for relative clauses, we therefore predict, weather forecast, we predict that our students will have a lot of problems in using the relative clauses in relation to branching. Okay? What statement can be made of English and Japanese relative clause branching direction? You know what is branches, right? Trees and branches? Yeah. Now we have subject, verb, object. Within the object, we can have a lot of relative clauses that describes the object or subject. We don't only say the Vice Chancellor. We can say the Vice Chancellor who was around for the last 50 years, you know. That bit is right branching. So in Malay, Night Chancellor itu yang bahagia, Night Chancellor itu yang. Do you use yang?
Yes.
So it's the same direction. Therefore, the Malay speakers of English will not have problems in branching for relative clauses. Very simple principle for contrastive analysis. The only thing you have to know is you have to know that your mother tongue very well as well, the grammatical system, to argue. Okay? Now negation, the third aspect. Negation in English forms, we can talk about negation at the lexical level, so you must start thinking in Malay, how do you say no? In Hindi, it's nehi, that I know, I learned yesterday. The speakers from India, they were teaching nehi, right? No, what, in Tamil? Huh? Tamil is elect. Is that all? I think it's more to it. Okay? Now in English, we can say no at the lexical level. No dear. Okay? No can exist on its own, independent word, no. Affixes and negators at the morphological level. We can attach an affix and render the word negative. Attractive as opposed to unattractive. We just have to attach the affix. Okay, prefix. This you have a pistol. This you don't have a pistol. But it's not so simplistic. This usually there is an actor, a perpetrator. When you disarm someone, you are forcibly removed of owning a weapon, for example. Relevant, irrelevant, aligned, non-aligned, toothless, a toothless tiger. Now that's at the lexical level, okay? At the phrasal level, we can say no tears, no stress, okay? That's another negation, another level in English, negation in English. Pre-verbal versus post-verbal negation in English. She isn't there. She is not there. She isn't there. Pre-verbal, that means it comes before the verb. Post-verbal, it comes after the verb. She is not there, it's after the verb, right? Post. Pre is no test, no stress. What about sentential negators? You want to negate the whole sentence. How do you negate a whole sentence?
Neither.
How do you do it? It's intention negated. You have to pick up some reading materials. I don't know how to communicate with you because you are from you're from what? Faculty Pendidikan. If you can have, okay. We are meeting this Wednesday, right? Finally, we're meeting this Wednesday. Okay, I'll pass the reading materials to you. I'm not giving you the whole reading package because some of the reading materials is like as old as you. So no need. I will give you what is relevant for your course. Okay? Now, can negation be transferred? What do you think? Can it be transferred? As in everything, there's no 100%. Of course, if you look at the literature, when I say literature, it's not sastra. A lot of students thought when you mention literature, it has to be sastra, bahasa Inggeris. No, when we say literature, it means what has been done. The pool of research that has been done, what people have said, that's the literature. So if we look at the literature for research in contrastive analysis, there's evidence against transfer. They say you don't transfer the negation system in your first language to the second language. It happens. How do you say no in Malay?
Tidak.
Yeah, okay, that single word. In a phrase? It is not me. How do you say?
Bukan saya.
Bukan saya. No, I think we have to look at a longer sentence so that you can see the difference. Not me, it's the same. So you won't have problems in negation. Do you say yes me?
Ya saya.
Yes me, no me.
Ya saya, bukan saya.
What do you have? You have bukan, you have tidak, and how do you negate something in Malay? Tell me. Negate. Tak nak. See, there's a few, but that speech. You don't say tidak nak, kan? Why do you say tak nak? So you have to ask yourself. Is tak nak so established that it's a word? Tak. Tak is actually from tidak, right? But you don't say tidak nak. You say tak nak.
Tidak hendak.
So in Malay, you already accepted that tak nak is it's a representation of you don't want it. Let's say in English, you speak in English, you want to say to the effect of you don't want something. A lot of students will say, you'll be surprised, maybe not you, I know want it. They replace the wrong negator. I don't want it. They say, I know want it. Why? In the Malay system, you don't have the dummy do. No, the do. We call this light verbs. Make a trip. Make is a light verb. Do is a light verb. In English, you have to have that so that it's grammatical. But you don't have that in Bahasa Melayu. Therefore, you predict that your students will have problems with all these light verbs. Take a trip. Make as a light verb. I'm not saying make as a heavy verb. As a one laden with meaning. Light verbs are verbs that is necessary in English to make it grammatical and it is a feature of the English language which a lot of speakers of English cannot master. Okay. Now, if we talk about pre-verbal and post-verbal negations, French show multiple negation. Who can speak French here? French? Bonjour? You cannot speak French. If you become a language faculty, you must take advantage of the fact that there are teachers of other languages. You must learn. When you travel, learn a few words. Thank you, good morning, good day, goodbye. Can I have a discount? Just learn the 5 phrases and you will survive. Anyway, people love it when you say thank you. People love it when you greet them. When shopping, you need to know how to say, can I have a discount? Yeah, and you can survive. Okay? Now, Norwegian use post-verbal negation, but most use pre-verbal negation. Evidence of similar development sequences across languages. Pre-verbal negation, early stage of syntactic development. Now, basically, again, looks like Otlin is the one. Let me find another reading material. Basically, the same principle applies. If in Malay you say tak nak, you don't say ada nak tak. Oh, nak tak also can. This is a question, kan? Now, if we are looking at statements, look at statement sequence. How do you negate something? When you don't want something, how do you say it? In all different kind of situations. Now, if it's very different from the way it's used in English, what is our prediction?
Again.
There will be errors. We predict there will be errors. If it's very different in Malay and English. If it's very similar, then we will say the students will have a breeze. They will not have problems learning the negation system of the English language. It's as simple as that, contrastive analysis. Simple principle, but when you look at it, it's complicated. You have to put down all the negation system in Malay